Blue Jays lose, the Dodgers win, the Dodgers repeat. First repeat in baseball since the 98, 99, 2000 Yankees. First NL repeat since the 75, 76 Reds, I believe it was. And it's just a dynasty in the making. Now, how far back the dynasty goes depends on your opinion of the 2020 World Series. Does that Mickey Mouse ring count? That's a discussion to have.
So we're not a minute in, and both fan bases hate this podcast. Got it.
I mean, the Dodgers knocked the Yankees out last year. The Blue Jays knocked the Yankees out this year.
I think the Mickey Mouse ring counts.
I do too. I was actually at one of the games, saw Tony Gonsolin pitch and lose to the Rays.
Yeah,
but that
Mookie
was
Betts. What's it? 4 rings in 8 years? Is that the number?
I think it's 3 and 5.
I think he has 4 and 8 though.
Yeah.
If you count the Boston one, just a winner.
True. So Mookie Betts is a dynasty on his own. The Will Smith, opposite of a curse. The Will Smith blessing lives on. Was that 6 straight Will Smith rings, dating back to 2020?
Yeah, a guy named Will Smith wins.
The actor needs to sign with a team now. But think of a more common name than William Smith.
I mean, if your team doesn't have a Will Smith on the roster next year, what are you doing?
Yeah, you're slacking. But going over, this series and how everything is gone. Right. We've had Game 5, Trey Savage. He pitched great. We talked about it last week. And Savage, we thought there was a chance he could be great, but he's a rookie. It's a tough game. Toronto won 6-1 at Dodger Stadium, took that 3-2 lead. You had a pretty nice back-to-back home runs. First 3 pitches of the game from Vladdy and Davis Schneider. Trey Savage had a World Series rookie record with 12 Ks. Great. You're going into Game 6, and you're thinking, okay, the Blue Jays have this in the bag.
I thought after Game 5, the Blue Jays were for sure winning the series.
So did I. I thought that all the momentum in the world was on their side.
I thought that it was going to be what I said, Jays in 7, but I thought that game had confirmed that.
I really thought the Dodgers were going to squeak out Game 5 before the game, and then the Blue Jays were going to win Game 6 at home if they were going to win another game, and that kind of got flipped. But now, Game 6, Dodgers, they win it 3-1. They force Game 7. The Dodgers had a 3-run third inning. Will Smith, Mookie Betts had some big hits. Yamamoto, the MVP of the series, 6 innings, 1-run ball, 5 hits, 6 Ks. Great outing, 96 pitches. But the game ended weird. So let me paint you the picture. Bottom of the 9th inning. Justin Dean replaces Tommy Edman in center field. Defensive replacement. A guy almost nobody has heard of outside of being, a Dodger fan. But it seems every postseason, teams have a guy like that, a pinch runner, a defensive whiz to go out there, somebody whose only job, make a play out there when you're asked, right?
That he did.
Kirk, hit by pitch to lead off the inning. Miles Straw pinch runs. Barger, now again, there's no outs, rockets a ball. I don't think I've ever seen a ball outside Giancarlo Stanton hit harder. And it gets lodged between the ground and the bottom of the padding. Now, if this ball was not called a dead ball, I think 1 run would have scored. Barger could have been on third with a triple because he was moving out of the box. Justin Dean threw up the hands. Umpires ruled it a dead ball, picked it up, threw it back in. Now, before I go on to say how the game finished, what do we think about that rule? Because I know a lot of people online, there's a lot of discourse of he should have picked it up and threw it in, and that's how it should have been. It shouldn't have mattered if him throwing up his hands.
I do believe the ball was genuinely lodged in there. I know that there were people posting clips of previous interactions where the ball was just easily removed. There was somebody, I forget who, that went to the Blue Jay Stadium the day after and basically showed.
I think it was Mark DeRosa.
the way that the padding is set up and the fact that if the ball is in there, it means it's probably pretty jammed in there. Now, obviously, the fielder didn't make a play on it, didn't even try. He just threw his hands up and was like, hey, the ball's stuck. It's tough for me because on one hand, I do think any grown man could probably dislodge that ball, no problem. But also, the ball's supposed to bounce off the wall. So now you're having to run how much further, playing it differently, that it's a phantom, very weird play. I kind of think the hands up thing is what it is. And similar to plays, how many times have we seen a ground rule double that a run would have scored from first, but now the guy has to go to third, and it sucks. But I think that just is what it is. I don't think that there's a perfect science to it, but I don't think center fielders should be expected, or just outfielders should be expected to have this quick fly reaction to let me get this ball like loose and jam, and now I got to make a cannon of a throw from the warning track.
I mean, by rule, if he did try to make a play, it would have invalidated the ability to call a dead ball.
Oh, I mean, super smart play by the outfielder.
Incredibly smart, knowing the ground rules. The Blue Jays benefited from a play similar earlier in the year versus the Reds. But I don't think it matters how easily or uneasily, the ball is able to be removed. If it's under there, if the wall's hindering the ball, it's a dead ball. I know there was a play circulating with, Cespedes and the Mets.
Yeah.
That ball wasn't trapped by the wall. It was just under the wall. It wasn't touched by anything. Pick it up and throw it. This, if you have to exert any extra effort to pick it up, any extra force to pluck it from the wall, it's a dead ball. It sucks, but so does the catwalk in Tampa. So each stadium has their, quirks. The Cubs have the Ivy and Wrigley. If a ball gets stuck behind there, it's the same deal. It's a dead ball.
Yeah, I mean, Fenway's got pesky pole, green monster. I think it's like part of, not that you make your stadium up to get ball stuck, right, but in every single MLB park you play within the stadium, this is no different. I just think it's on the biggest stage. The Blue Jays potentially a momentum shifting, could have been a massive comeback in that spot, and that's why we're talking about it. But I don't think that this is something necessarily that it's let's change all the rules now because of it.
So now we have runners on second and third instead of runner on second or third with a run in. No outs. Dodgers still up. Sasaki's replaced by Tyler Glass now. Ernie Clement pops out to first base, 1 out.
Plenty of opportunity here for the Blue Jays, by the way.
Right. You had second and third, no outs.
Mm-hmm.
Clement pops out to first base. So again, second and third, only 1 out. You have a great chance. A hit is 2 runs.
Yep.
Andres Jimenez is up, hits a lofty line drive, pop up to left field, shallow. Kike Hernandez catches it, and then on the run fires to second and catches Barger sleeping.
I mean,
double play, game over.
Kike Hernandez, I feel like every Dodgers playoff run, there's something that this guy does that we highlight. And this play, we've seen Springer hit a clutch 3-run homer before. We saw it versus Seattle. Excellent fielding from the Dodgers. And we'll talk about Game 7, but, as much as we could talk about the Dodgers in the sense of they buy all their players, they have unlimited money, we're talking about Kike Hernandez. I don't want to say he would have just gone anywhere, but that player's available to any team. The Dodgers collect players like that as well and build great baseball teams. Tommy Edman, Kike Hernandez, Will Smith. Like, these are guys that, again, it's not just, anybody could have them, but they are big glue pieces. And the Blue Jays have them too, like Ernie Clement, Jimenez, like that aren't superstars, that every day-to-day players are fantastic. And Kike makes a massive heads-up play, absolute laser to second base, and they deserve to win.
What was Barger thinking? Because you don't go halfway on a ball like that. That one, you're supposed to treat that one almost like a line drive, get just far enough off the base that if it falls, you can make it to the next bag.
He had to have read it wrong and thought that like it was going to fall.
Right. But even so, again, it should be out a couple of steps, enough where if it falls, you can get to third, but if it's caught, you can easily get back to second without much issue. You take 2-3 steps off the bag and you're
This
ready
was,
to run.
this
And
was
he
a few
just went
days ago at
halfway.
this time. They were down 2 at that spot, right?
Yes.
So I think his thought was, if this falls, I want to go try and tie the game.
Now, luckily, that was game 6 and not game 7. It wasn't a clincher. So
Mhm.
that helps him. And, that'll be forgotten in due time. That's not going to be the play from the World Series that's really talked about. That came in game 7. So let's talk about game 7.
What a game.
Incredible. This is up there with game 7, 2016.
To me, it is the best baseball game I've ever watched. I mean, obviously, like, biases aside, like, there's some Yankees games that will hold like a fonder spot for me, but not including my team, I thought this was better than Cubs Indians game 7.
I mean, those are the 2 greatest games. Not again taking out my team, those are the 2 greatest games I think I've seen. Yep. They were incredible,
and I preferred this.
And I think recency bias, yeah, and I think just this. I think that's really what it is, the recency bias, the Goliath Dodgers, the underdog Blue Jays, the Dodgers who everybody thought was going to dog walk the Blue Jays, struggling.
I think as much as we complain about the Dodgers, like, dynasty is good for sport, and that's why I liked this game better.
That's true too. But the Jays, they went up 3-0 early with a Bichette home run. You're feeling like, all right, the Jays are going to run away with this one. The series is over. That 3-0 lead felt like a million. But the Dodgers chipped away. Max Muncy hit a home run in the 8th inning to make it a 4-3 Blue Jays lead, brought it within 1. And then 9th inning, 1 out, full count. The least likeliest player on the whole roster between either team, Miguel Rojas, hits a solo shot to tie it up.
Well, but Miguel Rojas batting before Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
We were almost at a spot where it was, granted, not bottom of the, not the, situation you draw up as a kid in your backyard, but we were almost top of the 9th, 2 outs, Ohtani up, down by 1, which, no shade at Miguel Rojas, I had kind of penciled in as, when I saw the inning, that's where we were headed. And I was super excited for it. And then Rojas,
I think that's even better, though, than Ohtani
3-2,
because it came out of nowhere. You weren't expecting it.
And again, it's about the process, man. Worked the 3-2 count and made it so he had to be pitched to, because you can't. I mean, the last thing you could do is walk that guy and let Ohtani get on as the go-ahead run up to the plate. So,
and that's
he knew you had to be pitched to.
That's roster construction. That's having a deep lineup. That's protecting your best players in each spot of the lineup. If you have Miguel Rojas, who's a free swinger, and he just strikes out on 3 pitches, that's not protecting Ohtani. But being patient, working your counts, being, selective with what you swing at, that's how you protect Ohtani. That's how you make yourself have a shot to do something great. And that's what Miguel Rojas did. Dodgers now tied it up 4-4, bottom 9. And then the Blue Jays, bottom of the 9th, they had bases loaded. 1 out.
Yeah.
You think 99 out of 100 times you're coming away with a win right there.
I thought they were.
All you need is a fly ball. All you need is a fly ball that run tags. You win the World Series, and you're celebrating, having a parade. But nope.
All you need is a runner on third that runs on contact.
That too, because Dalton Varsho, infield was in because you're trying to cut that run off at home. Ground to second base. Who's that second baseman? Oh, right, Miguel Rojas. Stumbles as he fields it, but fires a strike home, and IKF is out.
And I mean, IKF, if he had gotten a better jump, would have hindsight's 2020, Monday morning quarterback, whatever you want to call it, would have been safe because Will Smith's heel was off the bag pretty close.
Why didn't he run through home?
That's another point. you're more likely to be safe if you're running full steam through than taking that half second
Because the
aside
force
you're
out
trying
was
to
there
avoid a
already.
tag.
You want to know why? Because the way we just talked about the Dodgers and players that have good process, IKF, not one of those players. I'm just being like, listen, like some of it comes from being salty as a Yankees fan having seen him, but also I'm salty as a Yankees fan having seen him because he has a crappy process.
Yeah,
That's why he doesn't start for the Blue Jays either, mind you. That's why he was a pinch runner off the bench.
cut by the Pirates. But IKF, if he gets a better jump, he's safe. Runs through the bag, he's safe. But on the flip side, if Rojas fields it cleanly and doesn't stumble, I think he's out no matter what.
I agree with that. But
So you have both sides where what if this and what if that. I think we got the correct version of the play at the end because a ground ball to second in that situation when the infield's in should be an out at home every time, especially since it's a force. Why is Will Smith's cleat coming up? Why is he moving his back foot and not playing it like a first baseman? Why is Rojas stumbling? Why is IKF getting a late jump? Why
and everything's magnified in this spot.
Right, but I think that's going to be the thing that haunts Blue Jays fans for the next decade plus, because that I think might have been their greatest chance to win a World Series this generation.
Oh yeah, that's the spot. You talked about, how are people going to remember Barger? Barger hit a pinch hit grand slam in this World Series. He was batting great. When you go back and look at the stats, you'd be like, Barger had a good series. When you look back at IKF, you'd be like, why did we ever sign that guy?
Right, like even what you were just saying, Barger was the one doubled off second base. We forgot about it 30 seconds later. He was the one with the bad base running, and that's going to be forgotten about, and IKF is going to replace it.
And rightfully so.
But then Ernie Clement flies out, ends the inning, and, they're going to talk a lot about IKF. Clement was up, bases loaded, 2 outs. He gets a hit. The game's over. The series is over.
I thought for sure he was going to. The way he's been hitting, not just in the World Series, this postseason, I thought, how poetic. Ernie Clement, eight-hole hitter, who's been an absolute dog, is going to put this series away.
Now, top of the 11th, we get through the 10th, some question marks, but we get through it. The Dodgers threatened, but we're out of there. Will Smith now, top of the 11th. It's a
hold on. Shohei Ohtani gets out before Will Smith. And
Yes.
The only reason I want to point this out, and it's not at Dodgers fans, Fox, in game 6 or 7, I forget which one of them, they put up a graphic that said one-man show. And I can't tell you the level that pissed me off. Because Shohei Ohtani is absolutely fantastic, but this was not a one-man show World Series by any means for the LA Dodgers. Freddie Freeman walks it off in the 18th. That's not one-man show. Shohei Ohtani ends up not even being the World Series MVP, mind you. And we had seen Yamamoto throw the complete game by the time they put that graphic up. And Will Smith had himself a hell of a series. Last week when we talked about this mid-series, who could be World Series MVP, we had talked about Will Smith. Will Smith had a good series up until that point. Now continue.
So, just on your point, at least they weren't doing what they did last year with the 3 batters from Ohtani.
Oh my, yeah.
2 innings until Ohtani.
But this was like false credit. Last year was just glaze on this guy being just in the series. This was not even false credit because Ohtani's been phenomenal, but
Right.
False representation of what the other players on the Dodgers have actually done, making it seem like one man is carrying this team in the World Series, which is not the case. This is a fantastic team.
It's just funny how things like that went. And then even if you look at Ohtani's postseason, he had a much better postseason than last year, but his numbers weren't, crazy. They're numbers we've seen before. He hit 265.
That's only because he got shut down by the Phillies.
That's right, John.
Yeah, shut down by the Phillies.
That's right.
Yeah, that's why they're so low.
Ohtani did 1 dot on the OPS, but that's, brought up by the fact that, he walked a bunch 16 times. Teams were moving him around. He was 6 for 6 in the 18 inning game?
I mean, getting on base, he was, what was it? 9 for 9,
9 for 9, yeah.
10 for
got
10. I don't know. 12 for
I think he
12.
walked 5 times or something like that.
He walked 5 times. Yeah.
5 times, 4 intentional, 1
So that's
unintentional.
inflating that OPS. You know,
I
the
mean,
average is 265.
but I mean, they were scared to pitch to him.
They were scared.
He should get some credit for
He
a
should.
team being terrified to
But
pitch to him after he
just
was
to
4
put
for
that
4 with 2 homers, 2 doubles.
But to put it into context, you know, he struck out 23 times. He did have 8 home runs and 14 RBIs. So he had
I thought he played. Listen, was it regular season MVP Ohtani? Not necessarily, but you're facing the best competition night after night. I think Ohtani did enough for a player of his caliber this playoffs. If they had lost Game 7, I think we could talk about his pitching a little bit more because I don't think he was nails on the mound by any mean. But
he's not for a another day.
For a player his caliber, I thought he held his own. My only complaint here isn't really anything to do with Ohtani specifically. It's just the representation that Fox was giving that only Ohtani was producing for the Dodgers when that wasn't the case.
Compared to last year, what Ohtani did was Herculean. He did everything he needed to do to dispel that notion that he can't perform in the postseason.
Yep.
Now, if the Dodgers lost the World Series last year, that's probably a big storyline. They won, it got brushed under the rug.
Yep.
He did everything in his power to have a good, not great, but good, solid postseason. One of somebody, of the type of player he is, this is what you want them to do. You're right. It wasn't really the Ohtani show, and I feel like there were probably a couple guys on the Dodgers that you can give the nod over Ohtani as being more impactful overall.
Overall in the series, I would have had him number 2 on my World Series MVP ballot, but it would have been close. Him and Will Smith were like a 2A, 2B situation.
But both were far behind the eventual World Series MVP, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yep. Yamamoto, I don't know if you guys remember, I said pitch Game 6 and threw 96 pitches in a great outing. He threw 2 2/3 in Game 7, came in the bottom of the 9th with 1 out, and just tore through the Blue Jays.
I mean, since the year 2000, Randy Johnson, Madison Bumgarner, Hall of Fame. I mean, Hall of Fame caliber stuff from Yamamoto.
Yeah, incredible.
Greatest of all time performances in the World Series, I would give to Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And, a 5'10" pitcher from overseas. There were questions about durability, questions about how he'd hold up, and the Dodgers threw him $300+ million. And their scouting paid off. And Shohei Ohtani talked about it in the World Series postgame. He said that he thinks that Yamamoto is the number 1 pitcher in the world. It's your teammate. I get it. I think he's number 3. I'm only taking Skeens and Skubal over Yamamoto right now.
I think that's a fair take. And I think Yamamoto, what he's done in the postseason, while the other two, Skeens hasn't touched it, and Skubal's been good, but never did what Yamamoto has done.
Never been
to the World Series.
Never been in this, or, a 7-game set.
No, but Yamamoto was just dialed in.
And Yamamoto clutched because last year versus the Yankees in the World Series, when he wasn't even having that great of a season, he looked like this. So he's got some ice in those veins, the clutch gene, whatever you'd like to call it. Yamamoto has it.
So Dodgers repeat. My question to you guys, can they three-peat?
I mean, absolutely they can.
But
they're going to be back in the playoffs without a doubt.
How do we feel about their chances of three-peating, though? Are they, what team can, dethrone them? Are they the most likely outcome next year? Is them three-peating?
It's so tough to say right now with free agency on the horizon. And a lot of opt-outs. We're going to talk about that as to who or what will happen because we know that there's some potential deadline, like there's some potential trades happening. It's possible Tariq Skubal is moved this offseason because the Tigers can't pay him. And I mean, that's a whole other issue. But obviously right now, if you had to bet your life on a team, you'd pick the Dodgers. I think that they rightfully so will be the favorites going into next year. I don't think that they have any major impending free agents, if I'm not wrong. And Snell, Glasnow, Yamamoto, Otani, like they're the Dodgers. They'll bring in 3 more starting pitchers to eat innings throughout the year. It's kind of a good free agency for their one weakness, which is bullpen. Edwin Diaz opted out. Suarez opted out. These are guys that I could certainly see ending up there. You look at the lineup, it's still going to be juice next year. They'll still have guys that make plays. We may be on the verge, and it pains me to say it as a Yankees fan, of the greatest 5 to 10 year run ever in the sport. And that's even if you don't count the COVID. If you just started at the Shohei Ohtani era in LA, there's no reason why over the next decade that this team can't win 4 to 5 World Series. They already got 2. In the next 8 years, they just got to get 2 more or 3.
It's crazy to think about, but things can change at the drop of a dime.
Yeah, and I mean baseball, we talked about it. There's a lot of momentum that goes into it, and I mean just this series alone, they're a couple plays away from a completely different result. And
even last year, they're a pitching change here, fly ball there, away from it being a completely different series.
Right, and so it's not to say what's the point in playing the games? The Dodgers are just going to win. Like, I'm not taking that attitude of it, but when it's a sport like baseball that has such a long season, rewards the better teams more often.
I think you're making this is why we play the games point, because so many different things had to go right for the Dodgers to win that, something slightly changes and the Dodgers lose.
And listen,
back-to-back World Series.
You never want to put it out there or suggest it, but we've all seen injuries can mess some stuff up. All of our teams here, both of our teams, lost their aces. Garrett Cole didn't play a game this year, and Zach Wheeler got hurt when the Phillies were the 1 seed, at least competing for it.
Yeah, the 1 seed, and then
so for the Dodgers, they've also been pretty healthy. Again, I don't want it to happen, but if they went into this series without Yamamoto, I think we're probably talking about a Blue Jays World Series victory right now. So you have to win at the injuries. You have to, which you can't control. You have to be able to make plays, timely plays, which you can control, and the Dodgers continuously do. And hitting is kind of a momentum thing. Yes, they have a ton of skilled guys, but you could run into the wrong. I don't necessarily disagree with the people that say that the Blue Jays outplayed the Dodgers in this series.
I think it's an accurate statement.
But that's where the talent comes in. And the Dodgers have all 4 things that we just talked about there. And I don't know if there's another team that had, injuries. I don't think there was another team that had it this year. I still stand on the second best team this season was the Phillies. I think if Zach Wheeler was able to go, that 5-game set could have gone differently.
I'm still not even sure about that because they weren't hitting.
I think it could. I still think Wheeler changes a lot. The usage of the bullpen changes. Are you putting Duran in the 7th spot and having Kirk running in the 9th, or is Wheeler able to pitch that game and then he goes deep? So I think a lot of different things could shift and change there. I still am not a complete fan of the Phillies lineup construction, but we'll talk about that throughout the offseason. But again, all these little dominoes.
Now, if the Blue Jays, let's say they won or just even that they lost, who was their MVP? Let's say the Blue Jays won, IKF was safe at home. Who was their World Series MVP?
It was Vladdy.
I think it just had to have been Vladdy.
And congratulations to them because a year ago, we were discussing if they were going to trade Vladdy, if they were going to let Vladdy walk, and if they overpaid him. And the answer was no, no, no. He's completely living up to that contract, and he is their franchise guy. They should probably do it again with Bichette. We'll see. We'll talk about it. But I don't think that they're going anywhere.
So that brings
Especially
me to my
with your
next
Savage.
question. Could the 2025 Blue Jays be a similar team to the 2015 Royals, who made an appearance in the World Series? Now the Royals won, but then dip. The Royals had that 2-year stretch where they were great, back-to-back World Series appearances with a win. Could the Blue Jays just be something like that, where they show up and then just go back to obscurity after great seasons?
I don't think obscurity, but the only thing that really hurts Toronto is being in a division with Boston and New York, teams that are hyper aggressive in free agency, and teams that do have some promising talent on their roster right now. Obviously, we know they just played the Yankees in a playoff series. The Yankees, they were in the World Series last year. They've been winning games. We know who they are at this point, and I think their pitching staff is going to be better next year. They're still going to be around. Boston is just so full of young talent, and I think that they could win it all next year. So I think there's 3 World Series caliber teams in their division, and I just don't know if that's the case anywhere else. So, if Toronto goes through a slump in June, that could be it, which is really crappy for them in their division. And again, you get an injury. I think their starting pitching is replaceable, but you have Gosman and you Savage next year. You can figure out the rest of that rotation. I don't know if you're going to have Bieber, if you're going to have Scherzer, if you have those guys, what level you could expect them at. But Savage looks like a top 10 pitcher in the sport with what we saw in this playoff run.
Yeah, and his, meteoric rise is, incredible to watch. He's an unbelievable talent and a great arm. So do we have any, final thoughts on this World Series as we wrap up the 2025 season?
Yeah, I mean, there's been talks of what is going to happen, not next year, the year after, with a lockout. Are the Dodgers unbeatable? I know the Dodgers won, and I think it's hats off to the Dodgers. I think they earned it. They deserve it. I think anybody acting like that this team is unbeatable is a loser mentality. And I don't think that there's any reason to piss and moan and throw a fit over it. The Dodgers play to win. And there's some, unfortunately, baseball teams that play to make money and play to profit off of revenue. And I'm sorry if you're a fan of them, but, salary cap minimum, maybe. Salary cap maximum, I don't think it's needed.
Never in a million years. I think that would hurt more than help the sport.
A minimum, I think, is fine, because make sure that the owners that are owning these teams care about winning then. But a salary cap, I don't think it's needed. Look at Toronto. Don't get me wrong, Vladdy's paid a lot of money, but
fourth highest payroll, I believe.
Right. I think some of that's from taking on Scherzer and Bieber and their money, and their high impact players, other than Vladdy, aren't making crazy money.
No, Ernie Clement's making nothing.
Dodgers
is making nothing.
Look at the Brewers. Look at the Rays. Not this year, but they were just in the World Series. If you put
the Reds, who were a playoff team this year.
If you put the right pieces together, you don't have to spend crazy amount of money. You could pay 2 to 3 top of market guys and develop talent. Obviously, there's a world where one day it gets out of hand, but at the end of the day, I also think if you're Major League Baseball, you probably sit there and think to yourself, well, Philadelphia, New York, LA, Toronto, our big markets are going to be good. Not a problem here.
Right. And it's weird. A lot of that talk about the salary cap and the Dodgers winning being bad is coming from one team and their not even fan base, they're writers. And that's the Pirates. It's very weird how it's not even the
And-
fan base talking about it.
It's because the Pirates know what inevitably is going to happen, and it's that they won't be able to keep Paul Skeens because of their ownership group not having enough capital to keep him, and the fact that
Not having
because
enough, unwilling to use the capital that they have.
and because he's the best pitcher in baseball and he's going to warrant a massive contract. But I don't. These teams acting like it's a negative for them to walk into having the best player or best pitcher in the sport is insane.
Especially with like how much money teams defer now in contracts. Like
Yeah.
it's just like you can just push it way down the line
I
where
mean,
it's not even an issue.
I'm not saying completely do the Bobby Bonilla contract, but if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates and you struck gold with Paul Skeens and to keep him, you got to defer some money, then keep him.
I mean, when it comes to deferrals, you do need to put that money each year in an escrow just to show you actually have it. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to pay you $1 billion over the next,
No,
40 years."
but I think like for yourself financially, you like that could be a way for some of these smaller market teams to keep their superstar high end players if they run into generational talents. I also think sell part of your team to investors that have money then. I mean,
You
that's
would
what
think that
happens
would
in
make
every
sense.
other sport.
You would think, but that makes sense. But the lockout that we're heading towards, and it will happen again, will be much more contentious than the last one. And that scares me because I do think both sides left off very poorly with each other, and that this is going to be the big one. This is going to be the 1994-esque shutdown lockout that's going to hurt the sport when it's been, actually growing